Well, hi friends, welcome back to Cooking 101. You too can cook. Chef Don here. I had somebody ask me a while back how to handle and cook chicken. Well, chicken is a wonderful protein. It's relatively healthy, and there are so many ways that you can cook it up, okay? But knowing how to do that and using safety is going to be paramount to keeping yourself healthy and everyone that you serve your food to. Okay, so this is a lot of times how chicken comes from the store. Okay, it comes in these styrofoam containers and it's sealed with this wrap. So I take just a knife and run it right across the edge. Now, if you're going to cut up the chicken even further, then just use that same knife, okay? But just as soon as you open this package, you've got a lot going on, okay? Raw chicken can make people sick, okay? It's got salmonella and other things like that.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
So you just have to be very careful how you handle it, okay? You need to make sure that your preparation space is clean ahead of time, which it is, this cutting board right here. Make sure your hands are clean ahead of time, all right? And then just be careful, all right? Now, when you're cooking with chicken, you should look for signs of spoilage, okay? That's going to be an off-putting smell, all right? If the color is kind of a dingy greenish gray color, okay? Or if you feel it and it feels kind of sticky, okay? Those are all signs that your chicken is too far gone for you to cook it safely, all right? Let's see here. This chicken's just fine. Okay, so you never want to put a cooked product next to a raw product because that can cause cross-contamination, okay? Because you still have all the germs and all the salmonella and all that stuff from the raw chicken. You don't want to mix that with your cooked chicken. Or let's say you're making a chicken dish that has vegetables in it. Don't cut your vegetables on the same cutting board with the same knife or put them over here on this plate with your other raw chicken because it's going to cross-contaminate, okay? So if you've used this area to process your chicken, then you're going to want to stop, clean it all with at least hot soapy water, okay? And I go ahead and use a bleach product as well, just to make sure that we've taken care of everything. And you're going to want to clean everything. You're going to want to clean your hands, you're going to want to clean your knife, your cutting board, and even the counter, okay? Because germs can splish and splash and get all over the place. Now there's a huge debate about whether or not you should wash your chicken. I think that's a bizarre debate, but it's a big debate nonetheless. I don't, okay? Because what you don't realize is just as soon as you take this chicken out and you take it over to your faucet to wash it off, you are sending salmonella germs everywhere and you can't even see it. But that water, you know, especially if you use the sprayer, it's just gonna go everywhere. So I tend to not do that. Now, if you still feel the need to do that, maybe what I would suggest to do is to take some warm water in a bowl and you know, take it through that. But I don't really think it's necessary. All right, the other thing is a lot of people pat dry their chicken. That helps if you're going to do one of the dry cooking methods like baking because it helps the outside of the skin get a little crispier. But we're gonna poach it, and so we don't really need to do that. All right, now what I have here is this is a tenderloin product, okay? So basically all that is that they have cut up the chicken breast into smaller pieces, okay? Now, it says, you know, chicken breast tenderloins right there on the package, okay? So what it does is it just makes it easier for you to cook, makes it easier to handle, and if you're going to make up chicken tenders, they've done the work for you, you know? So I find it just easier to cook with this, and usually they're a lot cheaper than the chicken breasts, okay? All right, now what I'm doing is I'm just taking them out of the package here. I stack them on my plate because now I'm going to take the plate over to the stove. Most packages will have a sell by or use by date, and it'll be right here on the sticker where the price is at. Okay, And this one is used by April 26th, so we're still well within that time period. All right. Now sometimes you'll get a product that will say use it by the 20th or the 26th, and when you open it, it's already going to be starting to turn. Don't tolerate that because you paid for that, okay? So take it back to the store where you bought it, tell them it went bad before the sell-by date, and they should work with you to get that replaced, okay? It's always good to have your receipt, but sometimes you just don't always have that. And a lot of times if it's already bad and already starting to stink, I'll be nice and I'll go ahead and freeze it before I take it back. That way they don't have to smell it like I did. Okay, now with this container, once again, you want to be careful, okay? Because this whole container is contaminated basically. So I just fold it in half like this, okay? I always try to keep my pinky clean and then come on over and just slide that in the trash. Okay, right down at the bottom. Come over and wash your hands. All right, so we're gonna get that set over here. Got this working. Let's take a few moments and just talk about the different ways to cook chicken. Now, I'm gonna set my cutting board down in here. Now, I didn't forget, I told you that we're gonna go ahead and clean off the counter. So I'm gonna grab a bleach product that I have in here that I like to use when I'm cooking. And go ahead and spray your counter down. Just the whole area that you're working on. Grab a couple paper towels. You know, a good thing about using paper towels versus your washcloth is then you can toss this right away when you're done. But yeah, somebody has removed my bleaching product. So we'll just use this. All right. And what that does is, you know, once again, you'll thank yourself later for getting it all cleaned up now, but you'll be ready to go with whatever else you're gonna do there on your countertop. Okay, but yeah, if you use the washcloth that you have over here for the sink and stuff, then I wouldn't use it for anything else, okay? Because you have those germs on that washcloth. And I'll wash that cutting board and that knife later. Okay, so we talked about how to handle the chicken safely. Once again, you are not also going to want to use the same utensils. So if you sit there and you don't really like to touch chicken and you've used tongs, okay, well, don't use those tongs to move the cooked chicken, and don't use it to move vegetables or whatever have you. Use that specifically for the raw chicken and get out another utensil to move your other products along, okay? So you can cook chicken a lot of different ways. One way that you can do it is to roast chicken, and you can get that in a roasting pan or even on a cookie sheet. Put down some parchment paper on the bottom so it cleans up nice and easy. Some people use aluminum foil. Some people don't like to use aluminum foil, but that's up to you. If you use aluminum foil though, go ahead and spray it with some cooking spray, and you'll cook that at 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, and you may want to have it a little bit longer for a larger chicken breast, okay? And what you're going to get out of that is you're going to get a juicy center and a nice golden top to that, okay? Grilling. Everybody loves grilling, but you have to be careful. Chicken is a very delicate meat, okay? And when you're out on the grill, you have a hard time controlling the heat source and the amount of heat and the flames and everything else. But if you're going to grill it, you can do a medium heat, and you're going to do it about 6 to 8 minutes per side. You're going to get nice crisp edges. You're going to get those grill marks that everybody likes. You're going to get a little bit of a smoky flavor to it and a nice crust, okay? But once again, make sure that you use a different utensil to flip it and work with it once it's starting to cook than you did in the house to get it moving, okay? And you know, with grilling, sometimes what I'll go ahead and do is poach the chicken first so that it's basically cooked, and then put some barbecue sauce on it.
Barbecue chicken alert! Barbecue chicken alert!
And just take it out there and hit the grill with it so you get a little bit of the smokiness, and it'll caramelize the sauce, but then it's not going to overcook the chicken, okay? Another way to cook it is to pan sear it. Okay, that's just to put it on the stove, put a little bit of oil in the bottom of your pan, medium heat, 6 to 8 minutes per side, and what you're going to get there is a golden to darker outside and a nice tender inside. A lot of times if you're making a casserole or something like that and you've gone ahead and you've diced up your chicken, that's the way you'll cook it. If you want a chicken breast that is just like that, golden to dark on the outside and tender on the inside, a whole breast, you can cook that way as well. But the way that I prefer to cook my chicken, and the way that I cook it most of all, is poaching. And I have to give my mother-in-law Jill a shout out because she taught me how to do this many, many years ago. She was cooking dinner at her house and I saw her doing it. What are you doing? And she said, I'm poaching chicken. Okay, so with poaching, what you do is you just get a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan, enough to come up to about, halfway up the piece of chicken. You don't want it to cover the chicken. And then you just simmer it gently. Okay, it's not a boil, it's just a nice slow simmer, really. And what you're doing is you're allowing that meat to cook slowly, and because it's so delicate, it'll keep that moisture in there, and you'll get a nice, juicy, even cooked piece of chicken. Now, you're not going to get the brownness that you would in the oven or if you're pan searing it. This is going to be more like a boiled chicken. It's just going to be white. It's not going to have any of the darkness on it. Now, some people boil their chicken, okay, and that's fine too, but you'll find that if you boil it, it's such a heavy cooking process that it can take a lot of the tenderness out of the chicken and even drain some of the moisture out of the chicken. It's faster, but poaching is nice and a delicate way to do that. And thank you, Mom, for teaching me how to do that. Now, once you've cooked your chicken, any way that you cooked your chicken, you should let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes, okay? Now, the reason for that is that it helps the juices for the chicken to redistribute throughout the whole product, okay? And that's going to keep it nice and juicier. If you cut it right away, those juices are going to end up on your cutting board, okay? And then you're going to have a drier product. Now, one of the other ways that you can cook chicken, of course, is in a crock pot. We just did a lesson about crock pots with roast. You can do it with chicken. If you put it in the crock pot, let's say 4 chicken breasts, okay, put in a half cup chicken broth. Okay, you gotta make sure you have some moisture in there. Put your seasoning in there. Put a few pats of butter. I'd say about 4 pats of butter in there, and then you kind of cook it on low for 3 hours. Okay. A new way that a lot of people have been wanting to do their chicken, and we've done it ourselves, is to air fry it. Okay, if you air fry it, you're going to want the temperature to be around 375 to 400, and you're going to want to do it for 14 to 20 minutes and flip it in the middle so it gets brown on each side. Now, seasoning is important, and we'll go over that here in a minute. But another safety thing about chicken: always have your chicken cooked to 165 degrees. Okay, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because unless it's 165 degrees, it is not safe for consumption. So the best way for you to do that is to use a meat thermometer. If you don't have a meat thermometer, you can cut the chicken in half, or cut it right on the edge and kind of look, and you don't want to see any pink. Okay, nothing clear, nothing pink. You're going to want it all to be white in the middle, and that'll tell you also that it is cooked. But meat thermometer is best. Okay, so we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back, and I'll show you how to poach up some chicken. Well, hi, welcome back. We are going to show you how to poach chicken. As you saw earlier, I had these chicken breast tenderloins. All that means is they've gone ahead and cut it up for you, okay, into smaller pieces. Easier to cook, easier to manage. All right. Now, one way that I forgot to tell you that you can cook chicken is to fry it. I don't fry chicken because it's not healthy, and so I usually don't do that. But if you're going to do that, usually you'll bread the chicken. You'll have some nice oil in the bottom of your pan, whatever kind of oil you like. When you bread the chicken, you can just use your flour and your seasoning and different things like that. and then you're going to fry it in your oil. You're going to have the oil right below its smoking point, and you'll cook it in there for probably about 5 to 8 minutes on each side until it's nice and crispy. Okay, but once again, it still has to be 165 degrees. Okay, what you can see here is I have water in here. It is not going to cover the chicken. We talked about that, okay? Because we're not boiling, we're poaching. We've got it at a nice low simmer, okay? Now something I did to help the flavor is I used this product called Better Than Bouillon. Okay, Bouillon Cube is the dry cubes that have the seasoning in it already. And you know, it's good, you can use that, but this is a reduced stock, okay? It's made with seasoned roasted chicken, and it's a roasted chicken base, and when you put that in there, it's got a lot of wonderful taste and seasoning to it. Okay, now we talked about seasoning your chicken. Always go ahead and put a little bit of salt on it, okay? Chicken is really good about taking seasoning. I always put a little bit of pepper on there too.
That thing.
Stick to it.
What? Man, come on now, get that pep off there. Come on, somebody come get this, man. Come on now. Come on, get that pep off. That's just too much doggone pep. I don't really want to see this no more.
I love this pepper thing, but I have a heck of a time getting it. There we go, getting it off. All right. Now, if you don't have one of these pepper mills, it's okay. You can just use regular pepper. Now, when it comes to seasoning, you're going to want to put some other stuff on there. This is a great brand. It's called Complete Seasoning. It's just kind of like a seasoning salt. It has a wonderful smell to it. You can just use a little bit of that. You don't want to use too much because you don't want to overdo it. You know, Mrs. Dash, it's no salt in it. Okay, it's salt free, so that'd be good as far as herbs are concerned. Poultry seasoning is really good. It gives you all your typical spices: thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, nutmeg, pepper that you would normally use to cook turkey, chicken, that type of stuff. A lot of times I'll go ahead and put a little bit of garlic powder on there, not a whole bunch. And you can put diced onions in there, or you can put onion powder. Always just adds a little bit more flavor. I'll just go ahead and sprinkle some onions in there. Okay. Now, let's say you're doing something you want it a little spicier, okay? But there's always, like Dano's Cajun. I've got some other Cajun seasonings in here. I've got a Justin Wilson seasoning, and I've got this one here. This is really good. Tony Cacciatore's, and it's Creole seasoning. You gotta be careful with those seasonings because they are very spicy. So if you have somebody like my mother-in-law that doesn't like it spicy, when she comes to our house, she'll go, "Is it spicy?" So that's kind of become a running joke in our family. Is it spicy? But bless her heart, she doesn't like spicy stuff and she can't really eat it. So if you're gonna use something spicier, just start with less. Less is best in that regard, because then they can even add some more at the table if they want to. Okay? All right, I'm gonna slide all this stuff back in here. Now, as you can see, this is just taking its own sweet little time. It's already started to turn, if you see there, okay? Now, we talked about using different utensils from the raw to the cooking, okay? So I'm gonna use a different utensil here to flip it over. But you can see that it's already starting to cook really well. Okay, now you don't want your water to get too low because then you just aren't going to really have a good cooking product. And so it is getting a little low. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it, okay? Now when you add that water to it, it is going to take the temperature down a little bit. So it'll have to catch back up, okay? Once you see there though, it'll catch back up, and I can turn it up just a little bit more there. But you can see it's already starting to boil again. But you want that water to be about halfway up whatever product it is you're cooking. All right, so we're just gonna let that do its thing. All right, when it's done, we'll be back and we'll show you the end product. All right, welcome back. Okay, so we are talking about poaching chicken. All right, I wanted to kind of condense this video so that you didn't have to wait with me for 15 to 20 minutes for it to poach. Okay, one of the things I was talking to my niece about is that when I poach chicken, you already have that extra seasoning in there from the bouillon ingredient. So that's there, you've already salted over it and all those other things. So I don't usually go ahead and season both sides when I'm poaching because it's already sitting, it's cooking in the seasoning already. Now, if you're going to bake it or if you're going to do some other, that's when you're going to want to season both sides and do so liberally. All right, as you can see, I've got my raw chicken over here. It's just hanging out, and we'll get that going after this batch is done, but we'll do that later. You don't have to follow me along for that. Okay, I found my bleach. Ta-da! Somebody hit it on me. So I went ahead and I cleaned my knife. Now when you're cleaning your knife, make sure that you get all of these teeth really well. You don't want any chicken or anything stuck in there, so make sure that you go along those really well. Make sure you wash your handle too, okay? I wash the cutting board, so we're good to go. And when I wash my cutting board, I wash both sides, okay? Not just the side I was cooking on, because you could get some germs down on the counter and move your board and you get on, so I just wash all sides of it, okay? Now, this has been cooking for a good about 15 minutes. You can see it's got a pretty gentle boil there going. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here with our meat thermometer. This is a Crofton, and it's a digital, of course, and these are the best kind, I think, to have as far as, you know, being able to check it. So we're going to come in here, and you're going to go into this little chicken tenderloin here, and you're going to go to the thickest part of the chicken tenderloin. And as you can see, we're clocking the temperature here. And when it gets up to 165, this thing will sound off. It'll beep, beep, beep. Uh-oh. It's being weird. Let me see what's going on here. Okay. Well, we'll let it set for a minute. Now what you're going to find is that your skinnier chicken tenderloins are going to cook quicker than the thicker ones like these, okay? So, if one's cooking a little bit quicker than the other, move the thicker ones to the middle, and that'll be more direct heat. All right, let's see if we get this thing to cooperate with us. Sometimes it does that, and I don't know why. We'll stick it in this one. There it goes. Okay, so it's slowly climbing up there. Now you want to be careful that you don't poke it all the way through the chicken and get it to the pan, because the pan's hotter than the chicken. And so you're just going to want to, you know, insert this probe just a little bit into the chicken breast, but not all the way through it, because you want an accurate heat of what, you know, temperature of the heat of what's going on in the middle of that chicken tenderloin. Okay, we're kind of hovering at the 135 mark, so that one is not done. But let's check one of these thinner ones here. Let's see if this one will cooperate with me now. Okay, that's the thickest part right there. We're going to put it back in there. Now, you can let it hang like that because you don't want to burn your fingers. So yeah, it's already up to 150. And I'll just keep climbing there for a minute. You know, cooking sometimes is a quick process and sometimes it isn't. And when you want a very good product, sometimes you just have to spend the time to do that. Okay, oh, I turned the alert off. Okay, so now it's going to beep at me. It's 165. Okay, so I can take that one out. And remember, we talked about letting it rest. So it can come over here by itself while its friends are finishing cooking up here. And it can just rest. Now look, I'm running low of water because what's going to happen is that water is going to eventually start to evaporate. Okay, so I'm going to need to add a little bit more water to that just to make sure that we have plenty of liquid in there, because otherwise things could start burning, or you almost move into a browning effect versus the poaching. Alright, now you can see it cooled everything down. So I'm going to turn the heat back up a little bit. Now your pan's going to stay hot. When you already have a flame, you know, it won't take long for it to heat back up to where it needs to be. but it does affect the temperature. Okay, so we're gonna test some of these other ones here real quick, see where we're at. Okay, so we're gonna move these right to the center of the pan. That's where your heat is. Okay. Now, we're gonna use our other tongs here. We're gonna make sure we can flip it if we want to. Just make sure that the other side's getting good and done as well. You just have to be patient. This is not a quick way to cook chicken, but it is really the best way. And the good thing about this style too is that this is easy to shred. Okay, so if you're going to use it for a chicken salad, if you're going to use it for chicken tacos, things like that, this is going to be the way to do it. It's going to keep it nice and moist. You can add your sauce after you're done, and then it's going to shred nice and easy. You know, I've got these shredders. It kind of makes me look like Wolverine. Let's see if I can find this real quick. My wife got these for me. They're called Culinary Claws, and they do a great job. You do it kind of opposite way. You put that chicken down in a bowl, and then you just use this to shred it, and it shreds it right up, and you get to be cool like Wolverine. All right. Now, I'm not going to keep you here for this to totally cook if it's not cooperating. We're just going to test one of these smaller ones here real quick. Yep, it's at 168, so it's done. Okay, I bet this partner right here is done. Now, this thick one, okay? We'll probably have a little bit of trouble with it cooking. You can bring that over to your cutting board. Take your clean knife and just cut it right in the middle there. Okay, now what you're looking for is any sign of pink. All right, there does look to be a little bit of pink there, but you want it white. You just want it totally white. Now that looks pretty done, okay? But for some reason it didn't register 165, so we're gonna put it back in there. And when you cut it up, that's gonna help it cook a little bit faster too. Okay, so that's kind of a little cheat there. But I bet this one is done too. Oh, there we go, sound off. Take that one out of there. We're going to take this one on out, okay, because it's very similar in size. These are our two big boys. They're just taking a little bit longer. Now, once you've cut it up, though, and you've put it back in there, then that allows that center to get cooked a little bit faster. So that's one way to kind of speed that process up. I'm going to check this other big boy, and then we will go on and do other things. All right, so with this one's done, I guarantee you that other one is done as well. It was actually a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're going to take all of these off. Let's set them on this plate. We're going to let it cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, that first one we took off, it's already kind of done its chilling process, so don't let it sit too long. Okay, don't get rid of this. Okay, this is broth. This is good stuff. So if your recipe calls for a broth or water, use this. It's going to already have the seasoning in it. It's going to be great flavoring, and it'll help everything taste great. Now I'm going to go ahead and cook these on up, but you don't have to stay with me for that. These are good and they're ready to go. We have them on a separate plate than our raw chicken. Remember, we got to keep that separate for no cross-contamination, and you can do whatever you need to do with these. These are good just the way they are, or you can go ahead and dice them up and use them in your recipe. All right, there you go, folks. That's how you cook chicken. All right, I hope you have the greatest success in your kitchen. Just remember, learn how to do it, feel comfortable, and you'll have all the success in the world. Until next time, take care.